Okay. I'm changing the name of this section to more inverses. I really want to get this idea of what do I get when I find the inverse of a function. Is the inverse also a function? So let's kind of make a table here. We're going to list out a function. We're going to draw a little sketch and state if the inverse is a function or a relation. So let's make this into kind of a little table. I don't know how far we're going to go, so I'm just going to go here for now. And let's start with, let's see, what's the easiest type of function? And we'll just look at the parents. If I have y equals x, well, that's a line, right? Is the inverse of that going to be a function or a relation? Well, it's going to be a function. It's going to be another line. What about y equals 2 to the x? Ooh, exponential, right? Let's see. That looks like something like this. What was the inverse of 2 to the x? Well, that was a logarithm. That was also a function. Okay, okay. What about y equals the square root of x? Okay, we've learned that one. It starts here and kind of does that. And the inverse is actually a function. Y equals x squared. What happened when we did the inverse of that one? Well, we got that sideways u, and so the inverse was a relation. I'm going to add another one in here. Ooh, absolute value of x. We haven't seen him in a long time. I'm going to make this go a little bit further down. I'm going to do one here and then 2 more examples there. Okay. Absolute value of x. That looked like a v. What do you think would happen if I found its inverse? It would actually be a relation. It'd be a sideways v. In other words, when I turned it sideways, you'd have an x value going to more than one y. So all of these that the function has an inverse that is a function, these are all called one-to-one. That means every x is paired with only one y. Everybody's good. Everybody's paired off. Now here, notice that we have x values. These 2 x values go to the same y value. So when we turn it around, the inverse is no longer a function. These are not one-to-one. Is there a way we could tell from the graph? Well, the test for a function, we did the vertical line test. What could we do to see if it's one-to-one? I want you to think about that. Now, today we're going to also look at y equals x cubed. Let's remember what that one looked like. Is the inverse going to be a function or a relation? What about the cube root of x? Well, remember x cubed and the cube root of x? Those are inverses of each other, so that would be a function. Of course they'd be 1 to 1. So what do you think about like x to the 5th? Or x to the 6th? Start thinking about how those would work with the inverses. Would they be 1 to 1 or not? So cube roots are 1 to 1. X squareds are not. And we can look at the graph. There's a way to look at that graph and tell if it's 1 to 1 or not. But we need to practice actually finding inverses again. I know. So if I need to find the inverse of, f of x equals cube root of x plus 3 minus 4. Okay, I know to find the inverse, we switch x and y. Alright, I can do that. So this is really y. If I switch my x and y, I get x equals cube root of y plus 3 minus 4. Solve for y. So I'm going to move that 4 over. To undo something cubed, we need, cube root, we need to cube both sides. Now remember, cube roots and cubes, we don't have to worry about the pluses and minuses, and that's really nice. This is x plus 4 cubed equals y plus 3. Y is almost by itself. And this is a function. Better use the right notation. Let's try inverse of f of x equals x minus 1 cubed plus 2. That's really y. Let's switch my x and y. Solve for y. Subtract the 2. To undo something cubed, I need to take the cube root of both sides. So the left side's going to just be the cube root of x minus 2. And I do not need a plus or minus because it's cubics. Cube root of cubed, I just get y minus 1. It's almost by itself. I'm going to need to add 1 over here. Equals y. Actually, it equals the inverse of f. And this inverse is also a function. Cube roots and cubics are 1 to 1. On your quiz next time, you're going to need to state which functions are 1 to 1 or not. You will have to find the inverse of a cubic, and you will have to find the inverse of a cube root. Short lesson today. So I advise that you start working on your embedded assessment that is due April 5th. That's when your test is.